Kelly Thorne Gore.
And John Gore.
We are so excited to come with our marriage tip. We are loving your feedback and all the things that you're telling us about what you've gotten. This is our third video. All right, third video. So we'll link to the other ones in case this is your first one that you're seeing. But today we're going to talk about how to support your spouse. And we're also going to talk about how do you ask for the support that you need, because it looks a little bit different. So I want to know who is joining us. So let us know there in the comments. Let us know your name. Obviously, we're going to see your name, but where you're joining us from. If you're watching live, let us know that. If you're watching the replay, you can let us know that. So glad that you guys are joining us. I see Sherry and Denise and Cassandra, and this is going to be good. So we've talked about other things up until this point, but today we're going to talk about support. And John has been so supportive of me. So you may not know this, but I decided because of some health reasons that I needed to go gluten-free, dairy-free, grain-free, all the frees. And when I talked to John about it, he agreed that our entire family could go these things. And even though he occasionally eats differently, everything in our house is things I can eat. He's been so incredibly supportive. And he doesn't, like as much as he would love to get bread when we go out, he chooses not to get bread so it won't be a temptation for me. Or he'll ask me, is it going to bother me? So that's one way he's been so supportive. But you've also been supportive in so many other ways with my business. Like I know you are one of my biggest cheerleaders.
Subliminal advertising, even though it's probably reversed.
Oh, with the eye, it is. I don't know if it's reversed. I didn't even realize that you were wearing that.
It's
okay.
Moolby Eye Bloom. For those of you who don't know, that's her business. Eye Bloom. It's an Eye Bloom shirt.
All right. How other ways support, love?
So you've been very supportive in terms of just big milestones from my job. So like when I get promoted or when I get so many articles published, then we go and we celebrate, we get a cake and we celebrate and we have a big hoopla about it. So that's been great that we've been able to celebrate those. And just also I have a couple hobbies and you support just talking about those hobbies. Even if they're sort of out of your interest area, you still, you humor me with me.
Not at all interested. Yeah.
Well, you are interested because it's mine.
I'm interested that it's yours,
yes.
But it's not something I would be interested in.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's out of your wheelhouse, but you still listen. So you listen to those things, you listen to those ideas, you listen to songs, you listen to book ideas and all that stuff. So it's great that you're just an open sounding board for that. And I think we're also just both sounding boards for our support.
Yeah.
So the thing that you want to think about is first, what are your goals? So not necessarily your relationship goals, that could be fine, but we're talking about any goals. So that could be career-based, that could be hobby-based, that could be health-based, and some of those are going to involve your spouse and some of them may not directly involve your spouse, but are you clear on what your goals are? So what are those? The second thing we want to ask you is, are you communicating those goals to your spouse? When do you communicate those goals? And also the third part that's very important is how do each of you respond to the other person's goals when they're talked about? So it's very easy to brush off someone's goals. It's very easy for Kelly to be like, I don't care about, music, or I don't care about that, or I don't care about your article.
Or you don't really care about my business goals.
So it's just but part of it's just we don't understand it at the same level, but we just listen and we celebrate it. So think about, how does your spouse respond to your goals, and are they going to be supportive for it?
Yeah, that's good. All right, so let's talk about some different ways that you can support, because this looks really different. Obviously, you can offer encouragement, but if this is a goal for your spouse, you want to make it as easy as possible for them to be successful in it. So a variety of things you could do. One, you could lighten their load. I know I have a friend and he talked about he really wanted to have more date nights with his spouse and he couldn't figure out why his spouse couldn't do it. And he realized she was so stinking exhausted from being a stay-at-home mom and doing everything with the kids. Like, she didn't want to go out after all that. And he found that as he lightened her load, as he got her help around the house, as he got her somebody to drive kids to activities, she wanted to go on dates then. So lighten their load. And I know you've done that for me so many times, where we were in a busy season and you would just take on responsibilities around the house with the kids, different things. So lighten their load. How can you help with that? Other ways, I'm going to look at my notes because I don't want to miss any of them. They're so good. You can just energize them. You can speak life into them, especially if their love language is words of affirmation. That's going to be powerful. You can block off time for them. So this could be, making it where they could do it. I know you have done several times, like where you would take the kids and say, okay, you have an entire day to work on your goal. Do you know how golden that is? And I know I wanted to go to the beach, but I took the kids to the beach and you had time to work on your book and other things. So
prepare for my busiest week of this of the year, really.
So just really supporting your spouse in that way. Find extra money to invest. Like if this is a business thing, I know we have done that over the years where we just said, okay, we need to invest more money in this now. But also it plays out in our health. When I came to you and said, like, we need to increase our grocery budget drastically, like we had to move money around. We had to find new money. We had to do things because that was something that we valued. And that told me you were on board with my health goals.
And that might not mean earning more money. That just might be spending it differently.
Yeah.
So just find new ways of investing into it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, other ones. Find others to help. Again, we kind of touched on that, but maybe there are, you need to get a sitter. You need to get somebody to clean your house. Like, find realistic ways to help. Celebrate them. We talked about that, especially when the goal is accomplished. We're not really gift people. That's not bad. It's just not our love language. But we love to spend quality time together. And so we might often take a trip together. We might just go out to dinner, but we're really intentional about celebrating those big milestones or even the little milestones on the way to the big one. You could just help each other. Sometimes the goal allows you to do it together. Other times it's just helping your spouse get started using your gifts to help further theirs. But really focus on how can you help your spouse, because that's super important. So many times I think we focus on, okay, what do I need from my spouse? Like, how do I need them to support me? And that's okay. That's good. You need to be able to communicate that. But I want to challenge you to really focus on how can you support your spouse? How can you help them become the best version of themselves and succeed in their goals or whatever it is that they're wanting to accomplish?
Yeah. There's something in psychology called the Michelangelo phenomenon, where you're sculpting the person, helping sculpt the person in their perfect ideal image, but it's sculpting them in their ideal image, not in your ideal image for them. So it's really important that you are very aware of what your goals are, you communicate those goals, and then you support your spouse's goals in the way that they need it. So the next steps that we want everyone to do, and we've been doing these steps too, just so you know, we're not just saying it and saying, all right, we're good, we don't have to do it. We've been doing all this stuff too. So the first thing to do would be figure out what your goals are. So maybe write these down separately. Come together, talk about what your goals are, make sure they're realistic, make sure that they're, positive things to do. Talk about what those goals are. So get together, talk about them, and also talk about what are ways that I need support. So these are the ways that would support me in this goal. So, think about what are the ways that are best ways to support. And then the other way would be, the thing we want you guys to do is to think about a new way that you can support your spouse in their goal this coming week. So try something new out. It might be just doing more of what you were doing before, or it could be that you're trying something else out. And especially if your spouse tells you for the first time, this is my goal and this is how I need support, and that's easy for you, that's what you should do. So try to do something new in a supportive way, and just remember that there are different ways that you can support each other, but you just need to be aware of what your spouse needs, which type of support your spouse needs. So communicate goals, communicate the support type.
Yeah, and this requires some self-awareness, because you need to go into this conversation knowing like what you need. And your spouse may say, I can't give that to you. It might be unrealistic for them. And you have to kind of sit with that. So one, I would say get some support somewhere else. In a healthy way, like find a girlfriend, find a guy friend. Like we can't depend on our spouse to be our happiness. So I know some of you are in some challenging situations, and the thought of going to your spouse and saying, I need this, but then them saying, I can't give you that would be devastating. So, but a lot of you are in healthy situations where your spouse would love to support you if they just knew how. And so it's going to require self-awareness. You can't read my mind. Like we think so differently. In fact, in a lot of ways, like our core values, those things are so similar, but we have such different hobbies, such different like things that we like to do. We do not like the same movies. Like we are so different, and he cannot read my mind. I have to tell him what I need, and I have to ask for his support. And so I would challenge you, be self-aware, ask for what you need. And I think you might be surprised that your spouse would love to give you whatever's in their wheelhouse of what they want to give you to support you, because they want you to be successful. So watch this video with your spouse, and I would love to know, I want to celebrate those of you who are in great marriages and those of you who have supportive spouses. So leave a comment, like let's celebrate our spouses of what is a way that they have supported you. Now, don't you go all negative on my Facebook page and tell me that your spouse does not support you, all those things. If you need to say that, come over to my private messenger and you tell me so I can be praying for you. But don't you clutter up my page.
Or say, they supported me this way, but they should have supported me this other way.
No, we're not doing any passive aggressive stuff. Like we're using this as a time to celebrate our spouses. And if you've never been supported by your spouse, you come over to my Facebook Messenger. You can tell me that privately, and I'll be praying, and I can support you and love on you and all those things, and maybe help you come up with some ways to communicate with your spouse. But let's do comments on this post celebrating ways that our spouses have supported us. All right. Have an awesome day. We're so grateful for you. And we're going to go on a date now so that we can do this too. Like we need to talk about, again, how can we best support each other as we're going into a new semester and all those things. So have an awesome day. Bye.
Bye.
It won't end.